Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. Today I wanted to talk to you about guaranteeing a match and also what is called information asymmetry. I first heard about information asymmetry in a podcast that I listened to with Guy Raz. It's called the How I Built This Podcast. It's really cool. It's a really long stories, usually around 90 minutes, with some of the people that have, built certain businesses. And the information asymmetry that he was talking about in that episode was with the founder of Zillow, the founder of Expedia, where before, back in the day, you wouldn't have information on prices for homes, or you wouldn't have information for prices on airlines, and you had to go through a travel agent or real estate agent, and then having that information really helped. So I'll get to that in a minute, but what I want to do is talk about the residency interview prep support course, and I will be including a copy if you don't already have it. I will send you the 100 Strong Questions, Answers, and Rationales ebook. Just email me at tonythepharmacist@gmail.com after you sign up. And then I'm also providing 6 months of email support. So what I'm saying is, I'm not just like, okay, here's the course, good luck. I'm saying, all right, well, once you have questions, start asking me questions, and I will be able to advise you on the way. I really want to go on this journey with you and kind of make sure that, as you're getting these interviews, you don't make the mistakes that would cost you something that you might get. And then if you don't interview or if you don't match, I will refund your $95, no problem, no questions asked. So again, my hope, of course, is that you do match, but I want to go on this with you, and I want to say, 100%, if you don't match, then we didn't match. And then I want you to have your money back. So let me talk about this information asymmetry and the importance of what was in the course, which is talking about and understanding the point system. So information asymmetry is when one person has more information than another. So before Carfax and all those things, when you were buying a used car, the dealer knew the condition of the car, but you didn't necessarily. Now, you could check it out, have a mechanic check it out, but maybe there was something underlying that they knew about that you didn't. The same thing is true when you buy a home. You're going to have a home inspection, and you're hoping that your home inspector can find all the things that are reasonable that you could ask for. Though in this market, home inspections are being waived, which is not necessarily the best thing in the world. So let's talk about how asymmetric things are for the applicant. So the residency applicant, they say, well, oh man, in the match, when you're in the algorithm, it totally favors the resident. And that is true. But the process itself favors the site. And I want to talk about why that is. So, first of all, there is real-time data about how many applications each site has on any given day. It's all going through one place. So it's just like you've got those little old counters where you would see people going through the turnstiles, and it's click, click, click. You see, all of the increases in the number of people. There could be a real-time application to all 4,000, of the spots. And, maybe you'd have to do it by site or something like that, or by code. But why is it that we don't have the information as an applicant as to how many applicants they have? Now, I'm not trying to say, well, they need to tell us all their secrets. But the reality is that you as an applicant don't know how many applications to send. So the average is 11. That's what the average was 2 years ago. And that information is actually pretty hard to find. But the reality is that, okay, well, let's say you are president of an association, you did a national ASHP presentation, you have strong clinical APPEs. What number does that equal? I'm going to guess it's closer to 7 to 8, and then you would get a residency. But let's say you aren't president and you didn't present at ASHP, and you've got 1 or 2 clinicals, but your clinicals unfortunately are going to be in April and May. It's going to be tough to interview well. Well, you might want to double it and get closer to 18. So, if we had the number of applications that residency sites were having in real time, then we would know, okay, well, I'm applying to an academic medical center that has 250 applications and it's the middle of December. And I'm applying to 4 academic medical centers which have between them 900 applications. I'm probably going to go over the minimum 4, and I'm probably going to start saying, okay, well, let's go find some that don't have that many applications. It's a really easy number to display, but we don't have that information. Okay. The next thing you want to know is, how far down did that site have to go to get their resident? So what I'm saying is, when the algorithm favors the resident applicant versus the residency site, some sites are going to get, maybe their 3rd, 4th, 5th choice, and other sites are going to have to go way down. Okay. That is a really good indicator of how much people want that site. So number of applications, but also how far down in their choices did they have to go? And this transparency isn't there. You have no idea how well this site did with applicants. Like, did applicants feel like this was a great site and put them first? Or did applicants after their interview say, man, I'll put them on there because I want a residency, but I'm definitely not putting them first. Okay. And then the one thing that you may or may not be able to get is, and we'll just do 3 of these, how does the current resident actually feel? Now, they're going to put on a great face, especially if you're on a Zoom call, and say, hey, things are great. You should totally come here. That's awesome. But what is it really like? Okay. And are they regretting their decision? Do they wish they had ranked somewhere else higher? And some residents will tell you, I've heard in interviews countless times that a resident said, I regret coming here. Okay. When they were alone and didn't have the RPD around, or their fellow classmates, or they would DM you or something like that. And they would really probably want it not to be written. But because they are people that care for other people, they're going to tell you. Okay. Now, how can you, since you applied blind, you have no idea how many applications this place is getting, and you have some idea of how many people they're going to interview, because you're going to see the slots for the interviews, and you're going to get some idea of the strength of the other applicants. So let's talk about the point system and what you're going to want to look for as you're getting into these interviews. So the first thing is, you're going to get a kind of a general sense of who's in the room. So I keep hearing this over and over again, that if you win the interview day, that is, let's say there's 6 spots and 6 interview days, and there are 8 people interviewing in each of those days. If you are number 1 of 8, my understanding is that many times you will be the applicant that they are putting highest, because it's really difficult to compare applicants in different groupings, and it's a lot easier to just pick a winner from each one. And maybe that doesn't happen exactly that way, but the first thing you kind of want to know is, well, what level are these applicants at? And the first thing you'll listen to, and what this really helps introverts, because instead of getting in your head, which is, oh, are they going to like me and all that stuff, all of a sudden you are in listening mode, where you are listening, then this is your deal. You are listening to what the other people are saying. Oh, where are you guys from? Okay. Oh, really? That's cool. And that's cool. And that's cool. Oh, man. Okay. They couldn't get anybody from this tier school, or other way around. Oh, man. Looks like everybody's from a top tier school here. And that's the first kind of thing that's going to come to mind is, all right, well, where are these guys from? And are they from around here? And that is huge, because regionally, is a lot easier to match because there's probably appies and things like that. Also, watch out for the gunner who's been there. So there's a lot of times where you're going to have someone in there. It's like, oh, I loved hanging out with you, Dr. Such and Such. We had such a great time when I was in your appy. And you're like, whoa, all right, these guys are already buddies. Maybe this isn't the place for me. Now, it's not the residency site fault that the person started doing this. But the first thing you're looking at is, okay, what level of college are these guys coming to? And we're not talking about USA Today. We're talking about, not USA Today, but the U.S. News and World Report. We are talking about match rates. So as you're sitting there listening to them, hey, let me just write down what 7 schools you guys are from, and then I'll go look at your match rates after the interview, because you'll have 2 months to hear nothing anyway. Second thing, how did they interview in the group? So when you start looking at the points and the things that they're expecting you to hit and the clinical pieces and working together, are they somebody that just kind of tried to have the right answer? Or are they someone that, really paid attention to other people and integrated other people's answers in their answer? What kind of camaraderie kind of developed in that group? Then you're looking for key points from their experience. So they're going to say things like, well, when I was president, or when I was vice president, or when I directed a flu clinic, or when I was doing an elective pediatric intensive care unit appy. And you just want to be busy bee taking notes on all of these things, because what you want to do is then compare afterwards and say, okay, well, I know how I felt I did with the interview itself, but how did I compare to the actual people that were in that room? Okay. And so I remember, this takes me way back. My first 5K, first one I ever did, I was in this gym. It was in Dundalk in, the east side of Baltimore. And the trophies were out. And I was looking at them. I was like, there's first, there's second, there's third. And I was like, oh man, maybe I'll get third in this one. Okay, I'd never run a 5K in my life. I'd never run this before. I was sizing everybody up like, okay, well, they're about my age, and I'm probably going to be more fit than them and all that stuff. Not only did I come in last in my age group, but I sprinted to the finish that wasn't the finish, because the finish line and the starting line were different. I was so exhausted from running that race, and I just ran it wrong. I basically went full speed the first mile, died the second mile, and then the third it was over. But I had a whole troop of like Boy Scouts like just running past me at the very end, these little guys, and I'm like, oh man, as I'm kind of limping across this finish line. And that was only 3 miles back then. So it was just, I had looked at them and I was looking at the wrong indicators. I didn't have the data I needed. But if you start listening to what they're saying, then what you can do is not only do you, use what they say, you say, oh yeah. So although I didn't hold the president role in my organization, I was the treasurer. And we were able to move from just bake sales at $100 to almost $10,000 now, where we are actually in a stadium and raising money for our organization, something like that. Okay. And then the kind of last thing is, as they're talking about their research and those types of things, you want to start looking at the reactions of the residents and the reactions of the other students. And what you're going to find is something called congruency. So congruency is where it's a good fit. It's a good match, literally. And it's you can't fake interest, especially as the interview kind of wears on, or especially as you're in these groups. And someone will start talking about something, and they'll just kind of like, oh, yeah, all right, well, we heard that one. And then you'll see genuine interest. And you can kind of, even during the interview day, kind of start working your way through those things and making sure that what you're talking about with the interests and all that stuff kind of matches what the site is looking for. Or maybe you find that it actually isn't a match. I've heard over and over again that, dating online, when you meet them, you actually meet them in person, you meet them for the first time. It's like meeting a new person and a different person. So again, I really want to take this journey with you. The course will provide email support so we can kind of go back and forth. You'll have questions. The RPD will say things and say, okay, well, what do I do now? And is there a template for this and that? And I've helped hundreds of students get the match, and this is I'm excited for this. I'm excited to be part of it and kind of going on the journey all in. And I think that this can be a really, really great opportunity in the residency season, because I think that with what's happening with the difficulty pharmacy schools are having getting students, it's creating a strain where the faculty are being pulled in different ways, and it's a lot tougher for them to give the attention that you would hope that they would have during this really important time. So again, if you have questions for me, tonythepharmacist@gmail.com. You can check out the course at residency.teachable.com/P/interview. I hope to take this journey with you.